Sefranek. There we go. Alright, hello guys. We're back with the Columbus Midseason Showdown. We're about to get into round 2. Between Nick Sefranek versus Calvin Chan, both players are 1-0. And the other players have started their matches yet. We're just getting set up here. Yeah. Oh, were we not live before? Alright, hello guys. Alright, we're back with round 2 at the Columbus Midseason Showdown. And we've got Nick Sefranek versus Calvin Chan. Both players are 1-0. And right now they're in team preview. So Sefranek's got Groudon Yveltal, while Calvin's got Groudon Xerneas. By typing alone, Calvin wins that matchup, but I know Nick is I know he's not incredibly well known, but he's a pretty good player. I've played him before. And Sefranek's also got the Cherrim going, so he's got Under Sun, it's got oh gosh, what's that ability called again? I forget, but Under Sun, it boosts the your special defense and attack of your partner Pokemon by 1.5. Oh, Flower Gift. Flower Gift is the ability. And that attack and special defense boost works for Groudon. That could be really important for Yveltal in order to potentially take a Xerneas Moonblast, or if it doesn't have Misty Seed. And the Stack Attacker also appreciates that. It also mitigates 1 Intimidate. So we're about to jump into game here. Alright. So we've got Groudon Incin versus Xerneas Kyogre. Okay, so double restricted lead. Based on this, we'll be able to find out which is faster. So Fairyora is going first. So likely that Kyogre is not holding a Choice Scarf. Then Drizzle comes out, then the Groudon comes out. I'm not surprised that the Drought went last, just because there's the Stack Attacker on Nick's team. So that kind of inclines me to believe that he probably likes that Trick Room mode more on Groudon. And considering that Calvin's real answer to that would be... Calvin's answer to Stack Attacker potentially getting Trick Room up is either a Water Spout from Kyogre under Rain, Toxicroak using Low Kick, potentially, or stopping it altogether with Crobat's Taunt. So Incineroar coming in order to drop an Intimidate down, wise choice. And Fake Out probably going into... Oh, it was targeting the Xerneas slot instead. That is very specially defensive. And there's a Swords Dance, though. I don't exactly know my calcs for Groudon, so that could potentially be Assault Vest. Or just a straight up very specially defensive Groudon. Or the Kyogre isn't that. It could be that, or the Kyogre isn't running maximum special attack. Okay, so Kyogre is going to withdraw here for a second. Toxicroak coming in. Probably for extra Fake Out pressure, but if that does have Dry Skin, it's going to be taking a little bit of chip damage. Alright, so there's a flinch there. And a pretty wise U-turn, I would say. It wouldn't surprise me to see that Incineroar swapping out for the Kyogre once again in this next turn. And perhaps the Toxicroak using Fake Out into the Groudon once again. But if Nick is able to predict that, he could potentially get Cherumin, and if he has it, maybe Grass Knot the incoming Kyogre switch in. Or it's Yveltal. I think it's pretty safe to use Precipice Blades and maybe Knockoff, if he has it, into the Incineroar just to get rid of that berry for later. It also might not have it, so we'll just have to see here what happens this next turn. That Toxicroak's going to go for Fake Out. I would expect the Incineroar to swap out into Kyogre, maybe? Or Incineroar was probably just going to plan on getting out safely with a U-turn instead, rather than risk the incoming switch in from taking damage. Right, so yeah, it's not Assault Vest, it did use Swords Dance. My apologies for that. So, Xerneas coming in. It's at risk of potentially a knockoff of its Power Herb, if that is what Nick has on his Yveltal. And he's also pretty free to go for a Precipice Blades. Granted, it'll be even less power if it'll be back at neutral if Incineroar does come back in. And I'd assume that's Incineroar coming in? Yes. So that's likely going to be a neutral Precipice Blades coming out. And Xerneas would probably protect here, I would imagine. Yes. And Precipice Blades might knock out the Incineroar here now that it's back in neutral. And there's the Snarl. Okay, this might not be a knockoff set. And Precipice Blade's coming out. Will this knock out the Incineroar? It's back at neutral. And yes, Incineroar does get knocked out. So I would assume maybe Toxicroak coming back in for the Fake Out plus Geomancy play for Calvin. So one turn of Tailwind has been used, there's 2 turns left. Either way, that Toxicroak will be taking extra damage due to Dry Skin, and that's going to really start chipping away at its bulk. Although there aren't that many special attackers on Sefranek's side, so if Calvin does have an Assault Vest on that Toxicroak like we saw in round 1, then it probably won't matter. And the Flower Gift is coming out here. So extra special defense for Yveltal, extra attack boost for it. And here comes the Geomancy. And now we are under the last turn of Tailwind after this turn. Oh. Bye-bye, Sunny Cherum. So now... we saw Groudon, we saw Yveltal, and we saw Incineroar, and now we saw Cherim from Nick's side. So, Calvin has the Toxicroak, the Kyogre, and the Xerneas left. Okay. So, I don't know what Nick can do here, especially with Sun not being up for Cherim to give the special defense boost. I don't know what Nick is able to do here to stop this Xerneas from steamrolling him. Oh, so Cherim's able to survive. Coming back here with Citrus or Pinchberry? Yeah, Pinchberry, Wikiberry, and it has Manual Sun. Interesting. That is very interesting. But it's probably to stop any more Kyogre switch-ins. Well, it doesn't stop the Kyogre from switching in, but it does stop it from having its full offensive potential with that. So, yeah, the Groudon's sitting at about half health, so even with the special defense boost, I don't know if Xerneas would be able to... I'm pretty sure Xerneas would be able to take it out from that range. So the big X factor is this Incineroar here. So if Toxicroak were to swap back out for... if Toxicroak is to swap back out here for the Kyogre, then the Xerneas would pretty easily be able to steamroll. Okay, so Groudon's coming back in. Obviously, Drought doesn't happen. And Dazzling Gleam coming out. That will take out the Groudon. And Poison Jab coming out from Toxicroak. And it does confirm that Nick is using a Pinchberry on the Incineroar there. How much does this Flare Blitz do? Alright. Close to half, and with a little over half actually. With the Sun Up and with Flower Gift, I would guess that the Xerneas would take about 90% from that instead. Add a couple Fake Outs into there, and there's your answer to Xerneas. So Nick has this information for later games, so he's perfectly fine. Just forfeiting right now, moving on to game 2. So, well played by Calvin, but I think Nick has quite a lot of information going into this next game, and I think Calvin's also got a lot of information out of this. Oh my gosh, that team name. The team name, of course. I think going into this next game, Nick's going to probably have to... I would imagine Nick has to bring his Trick Room mode here with the Stakataka. You can support that pretty well with Incineroar. And I would imagine the Cherim has to come in just for extra attack and special defense for both the Stakataka and the Groudon. So I can see Nick going with potentially Incineroar, Stakataka, Cherim, and Groudon. So the onus is on Calvin in order to adjust to that. Potentially bringing the Crobat to perhaps taunt it. Kartana maybe to threaten super effective damage on both Stakataka and on the Groudon outside of Trick Room. And also threatens a Sacred Sword onto Incineroar potentially. Okay, so it's gonna be the same lead as last time. Interesting. Versus Xerneas and Incineroar. So, we'll see whose Incineroar is faster based on this, most likely. Granted, if they speed tie. So, Okay, so Calvin's Incineroar either wins the speed tie against Nick's Incineroar, or it's all around faster. If we see one of the Incineroar fake out the other Incineroar, we can possibly determine that the player perhaps invested more into speed just for winning the speed tie against other Incineroar. Okay, so Kyogre's coming in. I like that play from him. Did Nick prepare for this? Okay, and just a fake out into the Groudon, fake out into Kyogre. So Calvin's fake out went off before Nick's Incineroar's fake out, so I'm pretty sure at this point Calvin has a faster Incineroar. Or either that or he just won 2 potential speed ties to find out. So in comes the Cherrim. And that's a pretty free water spout coming out here. Will the Incineroar be able to knock out the Cherrim with a knockoff now, or ooh, does U-turn kill? That's not quite a KO, no. I don't exactly know my calcs against Cherrim. Can't say. How are you in the stream chat doing? Are you enjoying? Alright, Nick can either... He could send in Stakataka and then swap the Cherrim out for Groudon, maybe, or just Groudon coming in here. I don't know what Nick plans on doing though, because now Calvin has fake out pressure, and he can pretty easily swap the Kyogre back out and back in, because that Kyogre hasn't taken much damage except from the previous Incineroar's fake out. So, thanks Eshi. I heart you, Eshi. Okay. Kyogre can probably swap back out pretty freely here, but I would assume back into Incineroar just because the Flower Gift attack boost is pretty scary to Xerneas if it swaps back. What? Okay. Then again, that means Calvin's got to be using Fake Out into Groudon, I would assume. And is this a Stakataka? What a Stakataka name, okay. But now that Stakataka has to be afraid of a potential low kick. And Grass not doing an okay chunk of health to the Xerneas. Any damage is good damage just because there is no potential heal pulse on Calvin's team. I don't see a Tapu Fini. I don't see a Meganium, I guess. And Xerneas is likely going to be holding that Power Herb, as it did Geomancy last turn. I don't know why you'd use Berry Xerneas either. Toxicroak can also go for a Poison Jab into the Cherrim slot if he expects that its Stakataka to play too defensively, but the safe play right now is to just Moonblast the Stakataka and to low kick it as well. Okay, so that's a good amount of damage coming out now. That's easily about half. And oh, I didn't know Cherrim could learn Heal Pulse actually. That's quite cool. That is quite cool. So I think Nick's game plan has to be knocking out the Toxicroak before he can let Stack Attacka do its thing. And this dry skin chip damage is helping. So I could see Toxicroak swapping back out into Kyogre here. And Xerneas potentially going for a Geomancy now. So just how does Nick adapt to that? Can Nick adapt to that? Oh, he's going to swap Xerneas out for Kyogre. Okay. He probably just wants... I think if that's the case, then Calvin just wants the Toxicroak to stay on the field as long as possible, just to catch the Stack Attacka. Okay, Nick is going very, very aggressive right now. And oh right, there's the manual Sunny Day. So Nick fully expected Kyogre to come back in here. And there's that special defense and the additional attack boost now too. So there's even more damage from Dry Skin. Now, Stack Attacka comes back in, and now Nick has to make a read. Does Calvin just attack? I think Calvin has to double into one of the slots, or just go for a pretty safe Water Spout plus Low Kick into the Stack Attacka. So now the question becomes... what does that Stack Attacka have Wide Guard, and is Nick calling out exactly what Calvin's going to do next? Or does the Stack Attacka protect and Groudon just straight up attack? Okay, so that's going to... so Kyogre's going to swap back out now that Nick isn't able to get Sun back up. It's a double switch. If Nick was able to use Trick Room and go completely aggressive here, then Nick can threaten everything. There's the Precipice Blades coming out. Did Nick also go for a Trick Room? Also, wow, that Groudon hit both of its Precipice Blades. And there's the Trick Room. Nick made the call. Nick made the call. He still has to worry about Fake Out pressure from the Toxicroak, but excellently played by Nick. That pulls him back into this. Gyro Ball plus Precipice Blade seems pretty free now, I feel. Or if you expect the Kyogre to swap in, I suppose you could go for a Rock Slide, but Gyro Ball is just more accurate. Nick is in the driver's seat, and all he has to do is not play too passively for the rest of this. So there's a Fake Out coming out. And Xerneas is down for the count. And let's see what boost this is. This is going to be to attack. Okay. And interestingly enough, that Stack Attacka doesn't have Life Orb. It could potentially have a Focus Sash. It could potentially have a Safety Goggles. I know I've seen some of those running around recently. But we know that it doesn't have a Life Orb now. A Gyro Ball from Stack Attacka will be able to take care of this Toxicroak, but now it becomes Oh, there's the Avoid. Let's hope that doesn't come back to bite Nick. But okay, there's the Low Kick. That's going to be able to take out Stack Attacka. Can Groudon land these Precipice Blades? No gravity. And it does land both. Is that enough? That is enough. Nick is able to take Game 2, and we are on to Game 3. The critical hit likely not mattering. Well played to Nick at the very end there, and we're on to Game 3. Who's on the Summit City Twitch? Sackslide, it's me. It's Conix. And we have two locals here, Nick Sefranek and Calvin Chan on stream here. Both are 1-0. And we're coming back into Game 3. I think Calvin has to be better prepared for the Trick Room mode coming out from Nick, because that's how Nick is going to be able to outspeed. And once Trick Room does get up, Calvin has little to no answer. So maybe the Crobat comes in, although it doesn't have a great matchup against anything here except for taunting. So I could see the Kartana coming in place of the Xerneas. Just because Nick didn't bring the Yveltal this past game. And Xerneas wasn't able to do much. It got Moonblast off, but with the Heal Pulse, with the special defense boost from Flower Gift, it's not doing much. So I think from Calvin, we're going to have to see... Kyogre's going to have to put in some work. Kartana is going to have to do stuff before the Stack Attacker gets the Trick Room up. You have to manage the weather well enough so that way... And you have to manage your Fake Outs well, so Nick isn't able to get the ball rolling with Swords Dance. He's not able to get... If you're able to catch the Cherrim on the switch-in, on Intimidated, you can potentially Poison Jab it as well. With Toxicroak or Flare Blitz from Incineroar. Okay, so Nick is going all in with this Stack Attacker play. But we did see that Calvin's Incineroar is faster. So Calvin can likely reposition here. So if Calvin goes for a Fake Out into the opposing Stack Attacker and then Nick's, Calvin just has to go for a Fake Out into the opposing Stack Attacker, swap Xerneas out. So Nick just has to call what is that Xerneas swapping into. Or that... The Incineroar from Nick's side can also just use U-turn. So, Fake Out coming into the Stack Attacker, and yeah, there's the U-turn coming out. So how does he reposition now? We saw that the Toxicroak was faster than the Groudon under Trick Room, so we can assume that the Groudon will be able to outspeed both of these Pokemon and just get a Precipice Blades up. So I think Nick is in the driver's seat now, 100%. Especially with the Dry Skin boost. Well, the Dry Skin chip damage. It's going to constantly just keep on eating away at the Toxicroak until it gets into about Gyro Ball range as well. Oh, he's swapping out the Groudon. Interesting. Back into Incineroar, just in case Calvin does have a plan, I guess. But Nick kind of took his foot off the gas, I feel, on that. perhaps, oh, there's Roar coming out. That can give Nick some issues now. Okay, so Groudon's coming in. You definitely want to use Precipice Blades here, I feel. Because that can outspeed both of the Pokemon on Calvin's side, and can take them both out, potentially. And if Calvin does swap out, that's more damage that he doesn't want to take on his restricted Pokemon, assuming that Kyogre's in the back there with Xerneas. So this becomes a little bit precarious for him. And that Incineroar can also potentially just... On Nick's side, the Incineroar can just U-turn out again in order to reposition himself. Now I'm just wondering. Alright, Toxicroak's coming back out in place of Kyogre, yeah. Calvin does have to be wary, because if that Precipice Blades lands, that's easily about 40% of Kyogre's health taken out. Nick hasn't missed a Precipice Blades. This never happens. Okay, so Calvin's Incineroar is able to survive. And yeah. Oh, Calvin's Incin just U-turns out. Probably back into Toxicroak, I would imagine, just for more fake-out cycling. And then maybe Nick's Incineroar is likely going to be U-turning out as well. Oh, Xerneas is coming in. Calvin wants to really put his foot on the gas, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. And U-turn's coming back out. I would imagine he swaps into... So, it's actually the Cherrim coming out here. We saw that it was very specially bulky earlier, so potentially it can take a Moonblast plus Water Spout pretty well. And then it should be able to use the manual Sunny Day. And yeah, Groudon's just going to protect here. That's a fair play, that's a fair play. Xerneas is going to Geomancy. This could start getting ugly pretty fast. And just a Water Spout coming out here. This did about 50% to Cherrim last time. Never mind, it was a Moonblast that did 50% to Cherrim last time. And Sunny Day coming out. Special defense boost coming back out as well. But yikes, staring down a +2 Xerneas and Kyogre that's faster than you. Oh wait, that Kyogre is at half health. Okay, so since that Groudon protected last turn, you could probably smack it with +2 Moonblast and a potential Scald. Or, yeah, you could also blast the Cherrim and swap to Incin. That also works there. But I think that Cherrim should be able to survive it. I think it did last time. And that's going to remove the attack boost that Groudon receives from Flower Gift. Oh, never mind. Cherrim's coming back out, so now it's just a -1 Groudon. Does the Incineroar survive this potential Moonblast coming its way? Xerneas is just going to protect, okay. Well, now it's prone to fake out this next turn. And a Swords Dance coming out from Groudon. both players here are having, both players are trying their absolute hardest to put their foot on the gas. But I think Calvin had a perfect chance. I think Calvin had a perfect chance to start attacking that turn. So I think the protect could have been a misplay by him. And out comes the Cherrim. So this is, with this Flower Gift, that Xerneas is probably not going to be able to take out the opposing Incineroar. And just a Dazzling Gleam coming out here. That's fair. Berry coming out from Cherrim. Now it's sitting pretty comfortably. And this Flare Blitz actually taking out the Xerneas. That's the power of the Sun plus Flower Gift plus Incineroar. Roar? Why roar when you can just take out the Incineroar? Why roar when you can just take out the Xerneas? Might be. And that Incineroar is sitting at pretty comfortable health. Toxicroak's coming in rather than the Kyogre. I can't say I agree with that, but I can understand it. Flower Gift doesn't boost your teammate's physical defense, so if you potentially double it up with a low kick plus maybe a U-turn. Yes, Flower Gift boosts your teammate's special defense and physical attack. Yes. Alright, Stack Attacker coming back in here. And Toxicroak going for the low kick into Incineroar. And that's enough to take out Nick's Incineroar. So he doesn't have that fake out potential for the rest of the game now. You could actually swap the Incineroar into Xerneas here, and then swap into Kyogre next turn. Or just swap in Kyogre here, but Nick will be able to get the Groudon back in order to set up Sun again. My question is, what is his answer to the Toxicroak now? Now Nick has to make a big call. Does this Stack Attacker protect, and does the Groudon just use Precipice Blades? Oh wait, I remember from last game that the Groudon outspeeds the Toxicroak. Groudon should outspeed the Toxicroak, so Precipice Blades plus Trick Room can be pretty safe here. And that's just going to be a Scald. Maybe fishing for a burn. Doesn't get it. Precipice Blades comes out. That's going to be Toxicroak down. That's not enough to quite take out the Kyogre just yet. Does it heal back with the berry? It does heal back with the berry. And I'm guessing the Stack Attacker went for Trick Room. The Stack Attacker went for Trick Room. And now Nick is back in the driver's seat like he was last game with under this Trick Room mode. Incineroar's coming back in, just doing what it can in order to, you know, get Intimidate down, but Nick has 3 Pokemon, so he can shuffle that around, and he still has Flower Gift potential. He is under Sun, so that Kyogre's not going to be able to get Rain back up, unless it has Rain Dance, which, why? Incineroar has the Fake Out potential, but Nick should be able to just double Protect here in order to stall that out, or get, Cherrim back in somewhere. And protect with the other slot. Stack Attacker is going to come back out for Cherrim, and I'm going to imagine that this Groudon goes for Protect. First, it's time to get Sunny, though. And no protects coming out, just straight up Flare Blitz. Trying to just dunk the Groudon. Actually gets the critical hit! Oh man. It's not over yet. It's not over yet because the Stack Attack can still Rock Slide, and the Cherrim can still Grass Knot. But the burn damage... this burn damage might start to become too much. We still don't know yet. Probably a Grass Knot will be able to get rid of the Kyogre, though. Pretty easily. Just this Rock Slide needs to hit. So, Rock Slide plus Grass Knot should be able to wrap this up, granted the Rock Slide's able to hit. So, even though Nick did get crit with the Groudon, it is perfectly fine. So, Kyogre's just going to protect. I don't know if that's really doing much right now. Rock Slide. And it does hit the Incineroar. Is it a KO? It's a KO. With the Flower Gift. And that's going to be another attack boost for Nick, so... I think Nick has this pretty wrapped up. He still has 2 turns of Trick Room, if I remember correctly. So, this was an incredibly well-played game by Nick. So, Gyro Ball plus Grass Knot should be able to finish this up if Calvin doesn't forfeit. And going for more protects, doesn't get it. Gyro Ball. That's gonna knock it out right then and there. That is a good game. Well done by Nick. Oh man. And Nick moves on to 2-0 in this mid-season showdown. Alright. And we're gonna cut it off here for now. We'll be back for round 3. Thank you guys.